told you that you might already be doing things that are making you smarter without even realizing it. You don't need to spend 5 hours reading textbooks or solve complicated math problems every day. Some of the things that improve the way you think are surprisingly ordinary. And once you understand why they work, you can start doing more of them on purpose. Let's start with something most people think is a waste of time: being bored. Think about the last time you had absolutely nothing to do. No phone, no TikTok, no music, just you and your thoughts. It probably felt uncomfortable, but that uncomfortable silence gives your brain something it rarely gets anymore: space to think. When you're constantly feeding your brain new information, you leave very little room for your own thoughts. Boredom can allow your mind to wander, make connections, and generate ideas. So the next time you're waiting somewhere, don't immediately reach for your phone. Let yourself be bored. You might be surprised where your mind goes. And speaking of thinking, there's another habit that can expose how well you actually understand something: explaining it to someone else. Have you ever thought you completely understood something until someone asked you to explain it? Suddenly, you realize you don't actually know why it works. You just recognize the words. That's why teaching is so powerful. When you explain something in simple language, your brain has to organize the information, connect the ideas, and find the gaps in your understanding. You don't even need another person. Learn something today and explain it out loud as if you're teaching a 5-year-old. If you can't explain it simply, you probably haven't understood it yet. Now here's one you probably wouldn't expect. Change your routine. Take a different route. Try a new skill. Cook something you've never made. Why? Because your brain loves habits. They allow you to do things without thinking very much. That's useful, but if your entire life runs on autopilot, your brain gets very little challenge. New experiences force you to pay attention, adapt, and solve unfamiliar problems. You don't need to completely change your life. Just give your brain something new to figure out. And that brings us to another habit that smart people tend to have. They ask why. Not just what happened, but why did it happen? Why does this work? Why do people behave this way? Why do I believe this? Every time you ask why, you're going one level deeper. Instead of memorizing information, you're trying to understand the system behind it. And the deeper you understand something, the easier it becomes to remember and apply it. Now here's something small that can make a difference in how you process information. Write things down, especially when you're trying to understand something complicated. When you write by hand, you can't copy information as quickly as you can type it. So you're forced to choose what's actually important. You summarize, you organize, you process. You're not just recording information, you're thinking about it. And sometimes the best way to improve your thinking is to simply move your body. Go for a walk. Exercise isn't just about your muscles. Your brain depends on your body too. Regular physical activity is associated with better cognitive health and can support memory, attention, and executive function. And there's another interesting benefit. Walking can give your mind room to wander. Some of your best ideas might not come while you're staring at a blank screen. They might come while you're walking home. So if you're stuck on a problem, don't always sit there forcing it. Go for a walk, and while you're walking, pay attention to who you're learning from. Because one of the fastest ways to become smarter is to spend time around people who think differently from you. Be the least knowledgeable person in the room sometimes. Talk to people who know things you don't. Ask questions. Listen. You don't have to prove that you're smart. You have to be willing to learn. And that leads to one of the hardest habits on this list. Change your mind. Most people don't like discovering that they're wrong. They defend their opinions. They look for information that agrees with them. But intelligent thinking isn't about always being right. It's about being willing to update your beliefs when better evidence comes along. Being able to say, I was wrong about that, isn't weakness. It's intellectual strength. And sometimes the best way to strengthen your brain is to do something you're terrible at. Learn something difficult, a new language, an instrument, coding, drawing, a complicated sport, anything that makes you think, I'm terrible at this. Because when something is unfamiliar, your brain can't rely on automatic habits. You have to pay attention, make mistakes, correct yourself, and try again. That struggle is part of learning. And finally, there's something you're probably doing every night that can have a massive effect on everything we just talked about. Sleep. You might think you're doing nothing while you're asleep. Your brain disagrees. During sleep, your brain processes information and helps consolidate memories from the day. So if you stay awake all night trying to learn something, you might actually be making it harder for your brain to remember what you studied. Sometimes the smartest thing you can do is close the book and go to sleep. And when you put all 10 of these together, something becomes obvious. Getting smarter isn't always about doing something extraordinary. Sometimes it's about giving your brain the right conditions to grow, be bored, explain things, try new experiences, ask why, write, move your body, learn from people around you, change your mind, do difficult things, and get enough sleep. You don't have to become a completely different person tomorrow. Just give your brain a little more challenge, a little more curiosity, and a little more space to think. Because intelligence isn't only built when you're sitting at a desk trying to become smarter. It's being built quietly in the things you do every single day.